Well, all right. I have a bunch more footage from the 25th of April, and there's lots more to discuss and explore. And since you have a passion for everything fighting, well, here we are. But we're reviewing and walking through a bunch of ideas so it's not a full-on intense workout. What I'm doing now is finding uneven bumps and stuff on the ground and putting my pivot foot on it. Just an example of interesting practice, but also trying to throw a slower kick so there's a balance challenge to it. Yeah. It's also a good opportunity to feel your alignment and how proper your form is, the foot and ankle angles. Now mixing in some snapping side kicks. I've said it before, it's good to have different intensities and styles to your kicks. Just like punching, you can load up, drive the kick, push the kick, and on the quicker jab side you can flick and snap kicks where one emphasis is a lesser percentage of commitment. It comes back as fast as it goes out. It doesn't necessarily maximize the full range of motion, or at the very least, it doesn't deeply drive through it. So you might be able to utilize different positions with these kinds of kicks. Kicks that you can whip or snap out while on the move. They can muddle the space between you and an opponent and gets followed up by a driving kick. Here I'll set up a positional area of my body with punches, but demonstrate that a kick can also be thrown without needing to significantly change the position area, my body language. Aim to not change at all for some punching and kick mixes. A driving side kick, but jab-like front kick. Now I'm varying the lead hand position, keeping it slightly more extended than usual. You might feel comfortable doing this sometimes if you want more intercepting and blocking contact, even just light tapping contact. Some folks like to do this versus a frequent kicker. Flow with your classic 1-2, but also be powerful with conviction when you want, before or after a kick, advancing or in a backward motion, and have balance with it since involving a kick means at some point you'll be on one foot. So yeah, be able to punch while on one foot. A sweep isn't always an actual sweep. It could be a distraction, an almost trip that just causes a stutter or imbalance, and you could sneak a tricky angle strike to the different parts of the knee or calf. Smacking a calf good can stiffen it up real good. Those kind of low strikes can turn into a sweep, coincidentally or successfully jammed in. This next practice has a lot to do with the opposite of moving all about and creating all kinds of momentum into a strike. It's about being able to strike without needing a bunch of prerequisites, without a bunch of pre-movement, including not needing to draw the leg back toward you first before using it. And a big reason the drawback happens is because the stance you're in feels too deep and wide for you to easily and fluidly transition straight into the kick. So what happens is you do a modification of the stance first before kicking, and it shouldn't be too difficult to understand the disadvantage to doing that. The turnaround side kick tends to really involve this issue. In my don't do this example, I want to throw a left turnaround side kick, so I have my right leg across and left across going in the opposite direction. This does put my left leg already on line and tends to be easier to release from there. But obviously, it's a big telegraphed position. So what we are going to practice is decreasing that poor crossed stance as much as possible. We can mask a narrow stance much better than needing to commit into that crossed stance. Here's an exaggerated look at the issue. Okay, so if you're in a bunch of motion, you can certainly pull it off better. But at positions closer to standstills and being in place, it can be an easy read. Since we're turning our back to our opponent, even for a moment, It's a good time to note that our heads should not turn casually during the strike. In fact, the head should almost lead, since it is wise to see the directions you are moving and striking in. Here's a what not to do example. Look at how bad that was. That's just a blind turn. Try this instead. Nice, right? You're less likely to turn around into a fist in your face or a kick in your gut. This is what the Korean masters used to teach to some Vietnam soldiers, and they came back from the war and spread a very effective, brutal martial art to the next generations, before a large part of the combat part was lost. And in return, you train to score points now. So you slap someone's chest with your foot, and you imagine that's going to do something effective. It could, versus untrained amateurs who never fought before. Is that what you consider your opponent to be, an untrained amateur? Okay, now listen up. Ideally, you want to be able to throw any kick from the same natural stance you have when throwing your punches. Enough said. My next point is to practice exiting out of your kick into different positions, so you don't only land directly forward or bring your leg directly back. You can finish your kick and end up left or right of the target. Let's try a left turnaround sidekick. I'm focusing on preventing my feet from narrowing too much. That was okay. Yeah, move around because my opponent probably ducked that kick anyway. Yeah, feel sorry for me because the ground is uneven and full of pebbles and stuff. It can mess with your head, right? Wrong. The next tip, don't do one big inhale, exhale per kick. This ain't a dojo where your teacher is counting off for you to kick every 5 seconds. So practice throwing multiple strikes per inhalation and exhalation. If you ignore the relationship, the coordination and balance of breathing during your moves, then your respiratory system and stamina and endurance will always be stressed. Hell, everything will be badly stressed. So 1, 2, bang, bang, and of course 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the point. Doesn't mean everything you do has to be a multiple flurry. Moving on to the next tip. Don't wing or contort your head wildly in order to generate power. Just keep your head in control. I'm not saying you cement it forward on your neck. One point is you want to keep an eye on your opponent during all your moves, like I just did here. And it was one exhale through those 3 kicks, and it helped keep things fluid.